Welcome to Low Mood Month. I'm chatting with Tanya Stricek. Tanya, tell us a bit about what you do, and then we will chat about low mood.
Well, I'm in a good mood today because I see you,
Good.
Emily. So I'm a dental hygienist who turned holistic nutritionist who then found mindful eating and dropped all the diety talk of holistic nutrition and kept all the good stuff of holistic nutrition. And now I help women in their 50s understand their relationship to food before they go on to any other health practice.
Awesome. So, low mood. I know you could be approaching this from about a million different aspects. So, what are we going to look at?
I had wondered if there was anyone out there listening that feels like their mood can shift because of what they say to themselves in their head.
I bet
I
there is.
know that I can. I don't know about you.
Yeah, and I mean, bearing in mind that we both have arrived at a no diet world from years and years of dieting and of speaking negatively to ourselves, I get you.
And I think there's a lot of messages out there that you can just drop the self-judgment, be positive, get a better attitude. But how do you go from A to Z? What's all the stuff in between? And so one of the things that I've done personally, when I turned 50 and I lost my mom, it was a very conflicting time for me. She took up a lot of my mental energy and my physical energy, and I hired a life coach. And one of the things I worked on was my self-critical voice. You would know yourself, Emily, and anybody out there listening, if you're trying to do something different and you have patterns of negative talk in your head, it can sometimes stop you from pursuing the business, finding a new relationship, buying new pants, like whatever it is, right? So I started to notice a lot of the negative self-talk I had. So I'm actually going to give you 5 steps to notice negative self-talk. And then at the end of it, you can actually assess whether or not this is impacting your mood.
Perfect. What's number one?
Can you notice your negative self-talk? And I think a lot of us don't notice when we are judging ourselves. We might start by noticing how much we judge ourselves with food, right? You know, once you eat a cupcake or you have a quote unquote bad day of eating, you go to bed and you're like, oh, I'm so horrible. I shouldn't have had that cupcake. I'll never be X, Y, Z, right? Even in the day, can you notice these tiny little judgment pieces in your head? So that's the first step, notice.
Okay. Step 2.
Step number 2 is a fun one, and it's name. So I had to name my inner critic. So I sat and thought about what that inner critic looked like. Was it a male? Was it a female? Was it a combination of both? Because once I kind of gave an image to this inner critic, it felt like something or someone that I could actually have a resolution of conflict with. So my inner critic is George, and he is male, and he's an asshole. He's an asshole. He tells me that maybe I'm too old to be in business and maybe I don't have the right systems in place. And who's going to want to listen to you? And he also tells me things about my body. So once I put this name and this face to my inner critic, and I could visualize him and see him, it made it a lot easier to have a mental conversation with George and to start to flip the script and sit down with him and say, listen, George, you're an asshole. And I'm not going to listen to you.
So mine is Maureen.
Maureen?
Yeah. And Maureen wants to keep me small. She wants to keep me safe. So she's not particularly negative, but she doesn't want me to ever branch out. And my friend has one who manifests mainly in imposter syndrome, and she's called Dilys.
Oh.
Now, we send Maureen and Dilys off on a really low budget cruise from time to time.
I love this idea.
I can probably go with them, to be honest. They'd love it.
Yeah, but he might be a jerk, but they should take him anyway.
To be fair, they are too.
You brought up an excellent point before we move on to step number 3, keeping us safe. That inner voice developed out of a need to keep you safe. The human brain is naturally made to keep you safe. So all of these things that we do, like, I don't think I'm going to go to the party. I don't know anybody there. I'm not going to apply for a new job. It keeps us safe, right? When we tell ourselves we're something that maybe we're not. And so even just that knowledge of understanding that criticizing yourself is a way to keep you safe. You've developed that over the years. Good for you. It's a coping mechanism, but is it serving you? And can you start to notice the critical voice and understand what's behind it?
And then send them off on a cruise.
Yes, yes. Although sometimes I want to send George skydiving, maybe he'll break his legs.
I mean, you could send him skydiving without a parachute. Maybe then he'd be gone forever.
Maybe. Is that realistic? Can George Philip Dillis? It's Dillis, right? Dillis or Maureen?
Dillis is my friend's one. Maureen. Yeah, Maureen and Dillis.
Yeah, I don't know. Can they be gone forever? I think it's the nature of being human that we.
I don't think Maureen is exciting enough to go skydiving. I don't think I'd ever persuade her.
Oh, okay. Well, now at the end of this interview, I'm going to want to ask like what Maureen wears. I want to get a visual. But so I'm going to talk about step number 3. Once you notice and you've named your critic, can you pause when that voice comes up? Can you take a deep breath and can you start to pause? You can allow the thoughts of what Maureen is saying to you come in, but can you start to see that you're judging yourself with them? Can you let those thoughts come in and go out and just bring a more distant but mindful approach to it, saying, so George says that I should lose weight because I can't fit into my pants right now. What do I think about that? You could go on a whole litany of why you're terrible for not fitting into your pants, or you could bring some compassion to that thought, wonder if the thoughts that come after it, like that means I'm a terrible person, does that actually affect how you feel for the rest of the day? Is this influencing your mood? What are these thoughts doing to your state of mind and even the way you interact in your life? Because I'm sure you, Emily, have had thoughts about yourself, maybe in starting your new community, the Sleepy Jean Club. Maybe you've had thoughts like, what am I doing? Who am I to do this? I really shouldn't. It's a big risk. It's a financial, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I mean, the biggest one for me was a few years ago doing an Ironman triathlon. I had a mechanical incident on my bike, and so I was too slow. And I'd reached a point where I knew I was going to have to pull out. I wasn't going to be able to complete the race. And turned a corner into this fierce headwind. I was the only person there. And all the negative voice came. You shouldn't even have been taking part in this race. You were never good enough, blah, 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 blah. And I remember sitting up on my, like, rather than being down on the sort of tri bars, I sat right up and I went, go away, in less polite terms. I am fucking well here doing this. I had a mechanical. Get lost. And that was such a liberating feeling. Somewhere on an island in Sweden, just shouting into the wind. Lovely.
Yes, I love that. So you're well advanced at turning the language around.
It often involves quite a few expletives.
But that can feel good too, right? I mean, you know, we can't negate the therapeutic meaning of a few swear words if that's what your jam is, you know? And I would argue that swearing or something else, maybe running, smashing a pillow, you know, it can help you shift that feeling. And then you can do step 4, step 4, which is tune in, but don't buy in. So what you're doing, you're pausing, you are then tuning into what this critic is saying, what this means about you really. Can you verify that? Is what this person in your head saying actual truth? And then you have the next step to take, which is step 5, which you didn't even ask me about, so I'm launching into it. And that is choose. What are you going? You're not buying into that right now. But what are you going to buy into? You may want to stay with these feelings of the imposter syndrome, or you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have gone on the race. But ask yourself, give yourself a moment and choose whether or not these are accurate. And you honestly don't have to do any more work than that, except acknowledging that, you know what, this might not be accurate. I deserve to be here as much as anybody else. I don't know how that looks, but I'm going to be doing this, being here, showing up, whatever it is.
Perfect. I love it.
Are you a journaler?
I am more so in the last few weeks than I ever have been in my life.
We talked about that on IG, didn't we?
We
On
did.
Instagram. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Is
just,
it help?
it really is. And wow, some of the things I mean, I'm sure some people journal very set topics. I just start writing. I'm like, do I believe that? Wow. My hand writes all sorts of stuff. I'm like, wow, didn't know I believed that. And then I look at it and I go, yeah, I see that I do believe that, but wow, that's getting in the way.
Yeah. I love the aspect of journaling. I go in and out of journaling. But if you have mood issues that you're struggling with, taking pen to paper, writing out your feelings, like the thing is with feelings, we have our basics, right? I'm angry or I'm stressed, I'm sad, I'm lonely. But what are they really? Can you put more depth to that? I'm really feeling sad because I feel rejected by my partner, or I feel like life has passed me by. Like, what are the feelings today that is happening in you? And what you've been doing with that tuning in, you're bringing that even more forward. You're checking in, and you can even ask how your body is feeling physically. Your mood can be influenced by physical things like joint pain, hunger, exhaustion, all of these things. And this is more of a holistic approach. And I'm going broader than the critic and the inner voice, but once you bring that pen to paper and start to look at what your voices in your head are saying, you might be able to attach them to other things that are happening, and it can give you better perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what you said earlier about working with a coach, it really helps.
I think so. And I've worked with a few coaches over the last 6 years in different aspects. And what coaches bring to the table is a sense of belonging. They can help you see things that you might not see. I'm not a coach that likes to tell people what to do. And I know in the nutrition world, people love being told what to eat. But a coach can hold up the mirror. You can look in the reflection and say, I didn't see that before. That doesn't fit me. Yes, that fits me. And that's what's important. And it's been so helpful for me.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it comes back to stuff that you and I say quite often on our Insta lives, that as women, we often put ourselves to the bottom of the pile and we don't address our needs. Actually, our needs are just as valid as anybody else's. And if this critical inner voice is leading to really low mood and is making life feel ever smaller and ever less filled with joy,
Yeah.
we need to do something about it. And that isn't necessarily a medical route or a specific nutritional route. It might be just that we need someone to hold that space for us to just work through it.
I like that you say that, the holding of space. And that could be community, like the Perimenopause Hub. It could be your new Sleepy Jean community. It could be friendship. But also, when you do hire a coach specifically for you, that hour is devoted to you. And I know that I have some money mindset issues, like many of us, that's baggage we bring forward. But I learned, and when I was discerning about who I chose and what I wanted to accomplish, that really became money well spent. I don't think I'd be here in your community throwing out a podcast, oh my gosh, showing up on social media like on my kids' age, without really understanding not only that inner voice, but what my core values are. And they constantly change. And I do have a free toolkit. If anybody wants that, I can give you a link, Emily. Understanding your core values. That was the second thing I did with my life coach. And it actually helped the mood that I was in at the time, because I was really down about so many things. And understanding what I wanted in life and understanding that can change, that helped me choose going forward.
And yeah, core values is something I was completely new to a few years ago. I was like, I don't know what these are. But wow, it really helps underpin every decision, doesn't it?
It really does. And we all have them. It's just whether or not we're conscious of it or not, just like the food relationship. So, I can relate to what you said, because when that was presented to me, I was like, what do you mean? What do I value? I don't know. I don't know.
All right, then. I don't know. Mine turned out to be helping women feel better. Go figure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you value being of service and helping others in the world, and that gives you something too, right? In return.
Absolutely. It's all good. So to sum up, we have 5 pillars and we need a life coach.
Yes. Although, you know, there's lots of questions you can ask yourself. I really am a proponent of self-coaching. When I work with someone, when I put out a podcast episode, more and more I'm trying to help you with questions that I put out. You know, you can ask yourself, what are my core values? What does that mean though? What do I want in life? What do I want in my midlife? Do I want to feel more healthy? Well, what does health look like to me? And then you can go deeper. Okay, so if health looks like this, this, and this, is this realistic? And you can go from there.
Wow. Thank you. I love that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tanya.
This was fun.